This is Kendra, and yeah, it's good you got some basic shapes and we're careful to make it the same height front and side. You have the legs out at an angle and you'll want those to be parallel and straight, and also the feet look like they're out to the side and those should be facing forward. I think that you could add a little more kind of shape to the arms. They right and legs, they just look like sort of cylinders, and I think you could have a little more form to them, sort of. You've got a little bit of that on the side with the top of the leg, which is good, but I think of that from the front view and also with the arms. The face kind of lacks detail. You might want to do an additional sketch of the close-up of what the face could look like. I see that you've got some reference materials here, which are good inspiration, although maybe hard to translate into what sort of a cartoony-looking character would look like. So yeah, I think a little bit more shape to the body parts and more detail in the face would be helpful. These are really nice drawings. This is Gabrielle, by the way, and just really good drawings, really good shapes going on. Um, from kind of a character design point of view, the idea of the big dress is really nice. I think from the practicality in this course, it's okay. It's just you need to be aware that the way we're binding the surfaces to the character rig, the dress, it'll move with the legs, just not in a very naturalistic way. I mean, the only way to get a big dress to move naturally is to do a cloth simulation, which is way beyond the scope of this course. So I think that if you're going to proceed with this kind of design, you have to be aware that the dress will look sort of, it's like kind of rubbery looking, or it just doesn't move like a dress. So that's the kind of limitation, and it's why I tend to steer people away from doing kind of big flowy things. The same issue will be true of the long hair on the character, but excellent drawing. I tend to discourage you know things like long dresses, capes, long hair, those kinds of things for this class. But you can do it. It just yeah, you run into that issue of it doesn't move in that naturalistic way. Yeah, and the reference images are interesting and good. But again, yeah, I mean, this would be then again even more problematic, something like this with all the complex folds and interaction that would have. That would be a very complex thing to try and to animate and get to look natural. So again, really nice drawings. Long dresses are a little problematic, though doable. They can work. You can get that to move with the character, but again, it just won't look that natural. So something to consider. It's okay if you want to proceed with the dress, but realize that it'll just kind of move with the legs in a very kind of stiff and sort of rubbery way. This is Cam, and yeah, I think this design will work very well for this class. You've got some shape to the legs and the arms, which is good, and the torso. Um, it's very much in the theme. The face has some character to it. The choice of hat. You've got these ponytails. They're or pigtails, whatever you call those. They're a little bit, uh, to get those to move nicely, you'd either want to simulate them or have a whole chain of joints down those to animate them. So um, by default, they'll kind of just stiffly move with the head moving around, which is a little challenging, but I don't mean challenging. I guess it'll just look very stiff unless you put a lot of effort forth, which is not really kind of within the realm of this course to deal with stuff like long hair like that. So that's just something to know going in. I suppose you can always remove it later on if you want if you're unhappy with how it's looking. But yeah, the drawings are good. It fits right in with kind of the style and the tools we'll be showing in this course. And then yeah, just some good reference images. Okay. This is Ariana, and it's good that you kind of were creative and went outside the sort of kind of a more obvious choice of just the kind of cowboy western character to choose the train conductor. I think that's interesting, and I like the look of the character design of the face. Normally, when you do a sketch like this, you're going to want to have arms out to the side and legs facing forward. Also, I'm noticing the character is missing any kind of feet or shoes, and you're going to want to have feet or shoes. So um, those are the main issues: is having the arm out to the side and the shoes. I think that you've got some good basic shapes. You could have a little bit more shape to the arm, maybe, and the legs a little bit look like just cylinders. But overall, it's got a good cartoony style, and I think you could adapt it well to the way we're doing characters in the course. This is Kobe, and yeah, that's a pretty good drawing. It's a nice look to the character. Glad to see the arms out to the side. The feet should be facing forward rather than out to the side. And then, yeah, you might want to kind of get a little bit more detail on the foot there to get the shape right. This piece here, while being really great for style, is just, again, much like some of my other comments about the other characters, like long hair or flowing dresses. It's hard to get it to move really nicely with the character. Not impossible, but it's pieces like this that would benefit from a cloth simulation, which is something that's beyond the scope of this course and that we won't be doing in this course. So you can add it, and we can bind it to the character and get it to move as best as possible, but just know that it won't move in like a flowing and natural way, but will rather look sort of rubbery and stiff and kind of sticking to the character. So but the thing is, you can go ahead and model it, and you can always, if you're unhappy with how it's moving, you could hide it or delete it. So but I just want you to be aware of that up front. This is Kobe, and this one I like a lot because it's using simple shapes to get a lot of personality and style and character, and I think that applies well to this course, where again we're dealing with fairly simple shapes. So to find a way to use that simple look and get the most out of it, I think is a good thing. We don't, this course doesn't go into like a huge amount of detailed character modeling, so complex designs don't succeed that well. So a simple design, but that has a lot of style to it, does succeed better. So that's good. And while and there's just there's some subtlety to the shapes. They're simple again, but they have some characters. So I think this has potential to work well. Normally you would draw the feet facing forward here rather than out to the side, because you're going to model them facing forward. And there's just some hands you can kind of import into here. But these I don't think you would want to use these sort of look like mitts. I don't think you'd want to use that. I think you're going to want the individual fingers. But apart from that, I think this can work well. And it looks like you're just pulling sort of standard reference images from the sort of traditional looking westerns. This is Mercedes, and there's a question on here which is, can I turn my characters into animals? And the limitation with that is that the character needs to be like a biped humanoid character, meaning like 2 arms, 2 legs, standing upright like a human. So I think within that, for example, it could have an animal style to its face, but the body needs to be an upright and biped, so it's at least humanoid. If you think of a character like a Bugs Bunny or something, where it's ostensibly a bunny, but it's standing upright like a human with 2 arms and 2 legs. So within those limitations, it could be kind of animal-like if you wanted to, but again, biped, upright, humanoid. Um, I think that one thing to be careful of is just if you look, you notice a lot of people did theirs on graph paper to get the proportions right, and if you kind of draw an imaginary line up across here, it doesn't even need to be imaginary. I can um, put in these lines. You can see that the hips don't line up, and that that should be the top of the foot, and this should be the bottom of the foot. So I think here's top of the shoulder. So you're going to want to make these proportional. I think the simple look with the sort of those eyes and the big mustache is actually will work well for this class, because again we want to get a lot of character out of simple forms and shapes, so that could be good. Um, and I would stick with the kind of exaggerated look to the eyes and mustache. Normally with these drawings you have arms in the T-pose out to the side rather than down by the sides. So yeah, it should be the main thing is to make it proportional. Maybe get a little bit more shape to the legs. They just look kind of like big cylinders. Maybe get a sense of a knee in there, and a separation between the thigh portion of the leg and the calf. And then same with the arms. Maybe a little bit more shape to the shoulder, bicep, and forearm, so that's not just a straight cylinder.